What's up, bros and hoes, whatever floats your goat? It's your boy Relentless, and today we're going to be going to school. And you ask, well, what do I need to be going to school for? Well, if you're just a casual gamer and you only have, a few hours a week to put into grinding the game and you want all these gear pieces, hopefully this will be a little bit of knowledge dropping on you as far as what you need to go for, what kind of builds you're looking for, and so on and so forth. Because if you're just a casual gamer that can only maybe put an hour in the afternoon, maybe after work or before work or while the children or kids are taking a nap, whatever it may be, or you just only have maybe 3 or 4 hours per week to even grind, and you want to know what's out there and what's best, you got to ask yourself, well, what kind of build are you going for? Are you going for a DPS build? Are you going for a balanced build? Or are you going for a more of a skill Seeker Mind, Flame Turret, or a healer build, depending on who you run with and if you're running solo or not? So we're going to get right into it, and we're going to drop some knowledge on you. And during this build, I'll be demonstrating several different ways that you can, in which intertwine different high-end gear pieces with this build to make it more viable and to suit your playstyle. Now, as you can see, 323.5k DPS, which is, we all know DPS is a fictitious number, and just by putting reload speed and accuracy on it, and even equipping such as the Tenebrae, because I've noticed a lot of people on social media posting pictures of their builds with outrageous DPS around 500k, but they have the Tenebrae, and it's because of the steady perk talent that's on the gun, and also it calculates the headshot damage that goes into it. So if you just throw accuracy mods on something and a clip that has, say, 30% reload speed, that's going to significantly jump up your DPS along with crit chance, crit damage, and headshot damage. But you'll see no inflation here, folks. This is not the U.S. economy. But anyways, let's get right into the build. I am running the Barrett's Bulletproof Vest. I actually got lucky on this. It actually dropped the second time I farmed Lexington Event Center, and for the most part it was 80%, almost perfect. And the reason I say 80% is because it had 1200 firearms on it, and it already had armor. It was pretty decent armor. It was only like probably 113 off the main armor cap that you can actually get from a chest piece. And then it had health on a kill. So I rerolled that for EDR because that's more viable in my playstyle. It comes in quite handy when you're PvPing. And since I'm more of a PvPer than a PvEer, then that's why I opted in for the exotic damage resilience. But in the minor attribute slot, you would prefer on any DPS build, or generally any build in particular whatsoever, whatever you think you might be running or whatnot. It's not so much, the have to have as far as more skill build, but on any build, whether it be skill, DPS, or balanced, the more bullets you have, the more chances on you have to surviving. But you want ammo capacity in that minor attribute slot on your backpack and your chest piece. If you're able to get that there, it comes in real nice. For the most part, you have to roll armor on your chest piece, your backpack, your knee pads, and your holster. And also along with that, you want to put armor on every single firearm, stamina, or electronics mod that you equip into each gear piece. With that being said, the talents going into the bulletproof vest include: no skills on cooldown increases skill power by 10%, 1 skill on cooldown increases damage by 5%, 2 skills on cooldown increase armor by 10%, which is basically in any kind of situation, whether it be PvE or PvP, these talents do come in handy. Especially if you're more of a DPS build such as this, you're relying more or less on your teammates for heals, because you're not going to be getting your heals back as fast as someone normally would, only running 80k skill power. So you don't necessarily have to rely on them, but I mean, it's always nice to actually have, a skill build in your squad or on your team. This is not really a solo type variety as far as running incursions or the dailies or the weeklies, or even the HBTs. But if you are playing in a squad, and a well coordinated one, and you play the role of the DPS guy, then this is the build for you. Putting the bleed on somebody is real nice. Watching them, jump and roll around and like they're covered in fire ants, and I mean it's just crazy to see them flip flopping like salmon up a stream in the Midwest. I mean it's crazy, but it doesn't stop it. You still keep bleeding. You still are leaking, and that health of yours is still draining. But moving on, in the mod slots, I have 256 firearms, 270 armor, which is very nice, and the 261 stamina and 271 armor. Moving on to the mask, I have a nice chunk of stamina on it with 4% crit hit chance and 16% burn resistance. Now you can opt out for skill power, but these particular masks had very low stamina roll on it. I think it was like 11-16. So that was definitely something I wanted to change, because my baseline of pieces that I want to hold on to and not just use as filler pieces until something comes else along is anything over the 1200 mark. Because anything over 1200 is considered very good, and the closer you can get to hitting that magic number of, I believe, 1269, then you want to get to that as close as possible. But the crit chance does play in very good here because the whole DPS build. But such as if I was more of a solo, then instead of the crit chance, and you're going to be relying on more of a pulse, then you want skill power in the major attributes. Especially if it's only giving you such as 3%, because 3% versus 10k skill power, the 10k skill power is much more viable and comes in more handy than just a measly 3 extra percent crit hit chance that can be easily obtained with just 2 performance mods with plus 2% pulse crit hit chance. So if you can get a good main stat roll, whether it be firearms, stamina, or electronics, then my suggestion is to put skill power in your major attributes over anything else, because you're going to get more out of it and more bang for your buck, so to speak, than any other stat in that category. In the mod slot, I have 261 stamina and 271 armor. Moving on to the knee pads. Fairly decent knee pads. It's almost right there, borderline of my cutoff. It's 1192 stamina. Just like all things, though, armor is required to more or less roll on your knee pads. So I had to opt out. This had no armor on it, so I had to actually roll armor on it. But 1192 is better than 1116 or anything lower. And as you can see, I got an additional 1160 armor on it. 11% enemy armor damage, increased kill XP, and bleed resistance. Instead of the increased kill XP, I mean, it's better to have something else there, but at least I have the 11% enemy armor damage, because that does play a role, especially with this build, because you're getting a flat base damage of plus 8% on any ARs and SMGs that you use. So that additional damage on top of the ARs and SMGs coming in real nice, especially on ARs, since it already has baked in enemy armor damage. It's good to stack on that as much as possible, because it is very much viable, whether it be PvE or PvP. In PvP, you just take your total number of your enemy armor damage and divide that by 3, and that's how you pretty much guesstimate on your enemy armor shred that you're going to be doing against other players in the dark zone. So that pretty much equates to about 3.5% enemy armor damage on the PvP side. And in the mod slots, I have 260 firearms plus 271 armor and 6% first aid self heal. And the reason I have the first aid self heal is because of the low skill power. And I plan on using booster shot for the most part when I'm playing with a squad. Now, if I do decide to just do the farming the bosses and the LZ, looking for those Skull MC gloves, or just, getting Phoenix credits or grinding gear or whatnot, then instead of booster shot, I would go for the overheal. Because I'm fairly tanky enough, sitting at 402k toughness. I believe this one's around 52.5% armor mitigation. So all in all, I would opt for the overdose instead of the booster shot, just for the simple fact of getting more heal and getting a little bit of an overheal if need be, because I have such low skill power. But moving on to the backpack, it's 1247 stamina, which is a good roll. Major attributes, 904 armor, and the minor is burn resistance. And like I mentioned previously, if it's possible and you've got a good roll on the major stats, whether it be firearms, stamina, or electronics, and already has armor on the backpack, then you would want ammo capacity in the minor attribute spot, because ammo is very crucial, especially to DPS builds, because you're relying on bullets downrange to do your damage and take out either NPCs or other players for you. In my mod slots, I have another 263 firearms plus 241 armor, another 5.5% first aid self-heal. That brings that to a total so far of 11.5%. And then I have plus 2% pulse critical hit chance. Now, instead of the Predator's Mark backpack, I do have a specialized backpack that has ammo capacity on it. That's just another viable way you can intertwine, and I'll equip that once I get finished going over the next two pieces to show you the stats on the way it looks. So moving on to the gloves, I'm running Savage gloves with 1264 firearms, 5 off of the max stat possible number that you can reach on firearms, which is really good, and 17% crit hit damage, 1,232 assault rifle damage, and 4% health on a kill. Now, instead of the 4% health on a kill, you would really want the crit hit chance. And if I had the funds to actually buy them, which is I currently don't, because of all the PvPing that I did previously before 1.5 had dropped, there is a great pair of Savage gloves at the DZ6. No, excuse me. Try to find it in my notes. Yes, at the DZ6 East checkpoint, there is a pair of Savage gloves that rolled 1156 firearms, crit hit chance, crit hit damage, and AR damage. Now, I plan on picking these up because even though on the PvE side, health on a kill can come in pretty handy, but it's just 4%, and I think it's more viable to have the 5%, if possible, on crit hit chance instead of health on the kill, because you're a DPS build. And if this had the crit hit chance, it would be a god pair of Savage gloves, because whatever basically the weapon of choice, the category you're using, whether it be AR, SMG, LMG, or shotgun, you want that as in your major attributes as one of your flat damage buffs, along with crit hit damage and crit hit chance. That is the ultimate trifecta and the trinity of gloves, as having those three major attributes on any pair of gloves. Moving on to the holster. It's an average holster. It's just a filler piece. It has very low firearms on it, mediocre electronics, and decent stamina on it. And, with everything buying, with bird credits and whatnot, there is a nice holster with already armor on it in the base of operations, the terminal vendor at the bottom of the stairs, the first one on the left. It has both major stats over 1200. It already has armor, and the third one can be rolled, and it would be even better for this build. And as soon as I acquire those finish credits, I'm like 200 short. I will be actually purchasing that and placing on this build, because that makes it even more potent, and that will increase my toughness up to about 412k, and my DPS would only go up probably maybe 12k. But DPS, like I said, is a fictitious number. Don't focus on what your DPS number is, but instead go to your character sheet, which is we're about to go to. But first, I got another plus 2% pulse critical hit chance on this. So go into your character sheet, click on whatever weapon that you'll be using, then go hit R1 if you're on PS4, or top right bumper on Xbox One, and you go to your stats. As you can see, I got 17% crit chance, 68% crit hit damage, and 122% headshot damage. and I'm doing 4% health on a kill. Enemy armor damage is 31%. So basically, I'm dealing like 10.25% enemy armor damage on the PvP side. Skill power 80.9, we already know that. And the weapon damage mitigation is at 52.65. So fairly decent. I'd like it to be a little bit higher. And once I, acquire that chest piece, not chest piece, but the holster and the terminal, then that should put me around 53. And anywhere between 53 and 50 and 54 is actually great, especially for a DPS build. Because, I mean, the longer you can survive, the more chances and opportunities you get, depending on your skill and how well you're coordinated with your group, or whether you're solo. Basically can tell you if you're going to survive and how long in the DZ or even in the PvE scenario. So as high as you can get, whether it be constantly looking for those god rolls, stamina mods, or firearms mods with at least 270 armor, then it's very much achievable to get anywhere between 53 to 55% armor mitigation, and as much armor as you can get. If you just have filler pieces such as that one holster, then just put it in place, because I mean it allows you to use the talents for the 4-piece spread or whatever gear set you're using, and you can continue to go on your merry little way until you actually come across one. Just keep in mind of what you're actually looking for, so that way if you have friends like me from the upper echelon gaming community on Facebook, then they will be happy to help you out, and if they actually come across one, something like that you might need, then they will actually drop it for you if they don't need it themselves. But that's another story, another time, a different place. But we'll get into the different variations of it. Like I said, you can actually swap out and use a specialized backpack, such as this one here. And I won't put in the minor performance mods. You can go it this way, and yes, I'm a little more tanky, but yet I drop a little bit in DPS. But like I said, DPS is not everything. These Predator Mark gloves are actually good gloves. They have 1250 firearms, SMG damage, crit hit chance, and crit hit damage. And since now the current meta of 1.5 seems to be centered more on the ARs, and the ARs are beastly, and that's pretty much what it's going to, I would like to prefer this be AR damage instead of SMG, instead of SMG damage. But as long as it's, one of the ARs and SMGs, whichever one it is, it still comes in nice, because Predator's Mark gives a flat plus 8% damage buff to all ARs and SMGs. So this just makes the build even more potent when using an SMG. And the specialized backpack, if you're a primary DPS build, this is pretty much the cookie cutter way, is either running Vigorous and Savage. Vigorous allows you to get an overheal, whether it be from a healing station or your booster shot. And the Specialized actually helps you out in the skill power category. As you can see, I jumped up 24k skill power, because it takes a accumulation of 200% of your firearms and stamina and puts that to your electronics, so you don't have to spec anything into electronics whatsoever when using a specialized backpack. Now there's different variations, but like I said, most of the ones, the videos that are out there when it comes to DPS builds are primarily either specialized and savage, or vigorous and savage, or such as this up here is vigorous and specialized. So you can flip-flop them, but I prefer the Barrett's chest piece. If you're lucky enough to get one that's good dropped from Lexington, I think it very much helps this build out, because you get another flat base damage of 5% buff when on one skill's on cooldown. And since you're going to be using pulse on this one, as soon as you pulse, you instantly get that plus 5% damage procced on your weapons that you're using. And then if you accompany that with the plus 8% damage that you get from the 4-piece Predator's Mark, it works out real nice and gives you an additional total of 13%, plus whatever you have in the major attribute slot on your gloves, such as the SMG damage here at 860. So you can just play with it, mix and match it, see which one best suits your play style. Whether you want to be a little more tanky with a little more skill power to get your heals back, to make your pulse stronger, whichever you prefer. But that's enough about the gear. Let's move on to the weapons. I'm using a lightweight M4, base is 17.8K, without the damage bonuses and procs, with brutal, responsive, and fierce. And in the mods that I have on the weapon are 101% magazine size, 2.5% crit hit chance, 4.7 rate of fire. The large optics VX1 scope has the trifecta on mods as far as when it comes to optics. Well, even on the muzzles, which is headshot damage, crit hit chance, and crit hit damage. Now moving on to the muzzle, I have headshot damage, crit chance, crit damage, and reduced threat. If you can come across a muzzle with those 3 stats and reduced threat, I advise to hold on to it or get the blueprint in the terminal to actually craft them, because them are the suppressors that you want to get, because they have all 3 of those main stats that you would prefer, which is crit chance, crit damage, and headshot damage. And you want to stack all those on as much as possible on whatever mods for your gear and or your weapons. Now in the barrel, I have an additional 18% crit hit damage, 2% accuracy, and 2.5% stability. My SMG, I am using the MP5 ST. It has 16.8k base damage, and I'm running responsive, deadly, and vicious. Instead of deadly is not what it used to be. That's only 15% extra crit hit damage. Instead of this slot, I would prefer brutal or unforgiving, preferably going for unforgiving more, because in PvP situations that'd be more viable, especially when you're trading and it's more close quarters. Then you get that increased damage buff from responsive for them being within 10 meters. That's 10%. And then if this was unforgiving in the second slot, for 1 missing health segment, you would get a 10% damage buff, and 2 health segments missing, you would get a 25%. And if you calculate all that together, it becomes very significant in how much damage you're putting down range. But in my mod slots on this weapon, I have 101.5% magazine size, crit hit chance, and rate of fire. In my large optics, a pro red dot sight with 18% crit hit damage, 2.5% stability, and crit hit chance. In my small muzzle, loud bent break, it's crit hit damage, crit hit chance, stability, and increased threat. Now instead of this, if I could come across another suppressor like that's on my AR, it would work out even better for this. Instead of the stability there, it would give you an extra headshot damage, which would be very nice and more viable than the one that I have. But that was the only one I have, and I haven't crafted anymore. I've got to get all that division tech and those materials so I can do some more crafting, and hopefully the RNG gods of the division will smile upon me. But if not, then this is very much viable and works out well. In the underbarrel, I have 17%. That's all, folks. No, I'm just kidding. Just got me a little stumbling and bumbling, feeling like Fergie. I was listening to that song this morning. You got me tripping, you got me stumbling. Anyways, this is not American Idol or Division Idol, so we'll get back into the build. 17% crit hit damage, 4.5% reload speed, and 2.5% stability. Now, instead of the stability, which is, you're not going to be using an SMG for mid to long range. You're more or less going to be focusing with your AR. So instead of the stability, maybe accuracy to make your grouping of your bullets a little bit tighter. But all in all, it's great. It works out well. Nice RPMs, nice flat base damage. But also have a converted SMG, as you can see here. A little bit less on the RPMs, but the magazine size is the same. And this has brutal, deadly, and competent. Now, just like with the other MP5, instead of deadly, unforgiving, or even responsive would be more viable and a better talent to have on the weapon than deadly is. But overall, if you're a DPS guy and you're looking for a DPS build and you don't have exactly enough time to spec into grinding every single day for multiple hours and you only have a few hours a week, then this is one of the builds I advise you to go into, whether it be PvP or PvE, whichever you prefer, you like doing the most when you do have time to get on Division. If it's a DPS build that you want to have, this is very viable. Like I said, you can run Vigorous Chest Piece, Savage Gloves, or Vigorous Chest with Specialized Backpack. You could even run Vigorous Chest Piece and Tenacious Mask, because Tenacious Mask, when you pop a medkit, you get an additional 10% bonus damage. So all these things are very viable, and you can specialize in your play style on how you prefer things. I mean, some people prefer it one way over the other. It just is a personal preference. But overall, I recommend this build for anybody, whether it's you want to be a DPS guy or a more balanced build, because the bleed effect comes in handy and plays a part. If they don't have a booster shot or overdose to more or less cleanse themselves, then they're going to bleed for whatever damage that you inflict out of the 10 bullets that land on them. And plus, it's kind of funny watching them flop around and like they're covered in fire ants. But I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it's been informative to you. If you're looking for any other kind of builds, there's a Banshee build that I have. There's one called the Roman, there's one called the Skeletor, and there's one that's called the Helter Schmelter. So whether it's DPS or the Ballistic Shield build using the D3 FNC, or running Banshee, or hybrid builds of Alpha Bridge and Pred, or running all high ends utilizing the two of the named gear pieces, such as the Skeletor, then that would be Barrett's chest piece and the Skull MC gloves. You can go check out them other videos on the channel. And if you need any further help or looking for people to game with or group up with for when you do have time to grind and get on the division, and you're not part of any kind of community based on social media, then I recommend Upper Echelon Gaming Community on Facebook. They're pretty much the go-to social media site for anything and all things Division. They're a great group of guys. I'm nearly 6,000 members, headed up by UE Sanction Knight, which is an awesome theory crafter. You can also check out his YouTube channel at Upper Echelon Gamers. So go give him a like and a subscribe and tell him that Relentless sent you. You look them up on Facebook. Their link is in the description below, and also their Discord server. Their link is also in the description below. Whether you need help on builds, you just want to like discussing builds and like-minded people in a very positive community, then that is definitely the place to be. But as always, this is your boy Relentless, and I hope you liked the video. I hope it's been informative, and I hope I can continue to bring you even better content as my equipment updates and as I get more used to actually commentating and actually doing build videos. So all in all, I hope over the time that I can be better and provide you with the most and best content that's possible that's out there. And so if you do like that, please smash that thumbs up button and leave comments in the section below on any questions or any suggestions you might have. And I appreciate all your support, and we'll see you guys for